So last night, pretty late, it was revealed that Val Kilmer has passed away. And this to me was a celebrity death that hit me pretty hard. And one of those ones that in certain regards kind of came out of nowhere, or I mean, did kind of come out of nowhere. There hadn't been any headlines that he was sick or anything like that. Currently, I mean, we've known he's had health issues, but it wasn't reports of him nearing his death. And you never really know which celebrity sometimes will kind of hit you when it happens. And this is one of those ones that just kind of brought a pretty deep sadness in me. If you're some of my younger viewers, it's probably a little bit difficult to understand Val Kilmer's fame, because the 80s and 90s, he was a massive, massive, massive movie star. All these different roles, different franchises an era kind of before franchises. And then around the year 2000, kind of things slowed down for him. So, if you're kind of under 30, then you kind of weren't really around for movie star Val Kilmer. And it's just kind of looking back. And of course, he was Batman and he was in Top Gun, Iceman, some of these other roles. But you missed experiencing him being one of those celebrities. And so it's just kind of a thing of the past. And he's had kind of a just limited number of returns to fame. And of course, the most notable one of the last decade is that he appears in the movie Top Gun Maverick as a very sick version of Iceman. And in the movie, he dies, which is a major plot point in the film. And that being kind of the final cinematic note that he'll probably be remembered on. I'm not sure if he's done a few other things since then, but like that of big high profile things. I mean, that's one of the biggest films of the last 5 years. And that was one of the most memorable sequences in the film. And then just a few years later, he passes, and that kind of becomes his farewell. It makes you, just reflect on things a little bit different. I don't know how to even have the words to kind of say it, but one of the first movies I remember seeing growing up was Top Gun, which I've talked about many times in regards to Top Gun Maverick. But that also means one of the first movie stars I remember was Val Kilmer. And then one of the other first movies I remember seeing in the theater was Batman. A few years later, when I'm eighth-ish grade, he becomes Batman. And, time hasn't been as friendly to Batman forever, but that movie was huge when it came out, and I loved that movie when it came out. And that was when I started to be able to track movies a little bit before they came out, and they announced Val Kilmer's going to be Batman. I knew who Val Kilmer was because I'd seen Top Gun 1,000 times. And I'd seen other things, seen Willow a bunch of times. It's like, wait, that guy's going to be Batman? Wow. He's one of those actors that one of the first movie stars I remember, one of the first times I remember casting information. Like, now we talk about casting information all the time. It's literally my job, and I do it every single week. But one of the first times I remember, they said who was going to be playing a character, and that actually meant something to me. In this case, because it was recasting Batman, but I also knew who the guy was. They had a movie that came out in the late 90s called The Saint. It was based off a TV show that actually Roger Moore Bond played in the 1960s. Elizabeth Shue was in it. And it's not a great movie. It's a fun little kind of heist film. Kind of like a superhero type character, but there's heists and stuff. And I used to watch that movie all the time. And you can go through the other things that he, of course, Heat and Tombstone, two absolute classics of their genres. Movies that I have seen. I haven't seen them enough to be able to chime in with the same love that other people have for them. But, of course, just two pivotal films in their genres. As you kind of go through that. Top Gun is one of the most iconic films of the 80s. Then he's in Willow as the Han Solo-esque character in George Lucas's follow-up to Star Wars. I've actually never seen Oliver Stone's The Doors, so I haven't seen his Jim Morrison, but another one is just absolutely iconic performance roles. Tombstone, Batman, so much Heat, so much stuff. Like I said, that's why you have those ones where you don't realize, because he hasn't been kind of part of the cultural conversation nearly as much outside of a sequence in Top Gun Maverick and some knowledge of his health issues and things like that, that sometimes you don't realize how much someone was a part of your formative years of, I talk about movies. So my relationship to movies is very important to my forming me as a person. And he was such a big piece of that. And then I just opened up my phone last night, one of the last times I hopped on Twitter before going to bed, and read that. And it was, I don't know, it really hit me harder than I was expecting. Somewhat just because I wasn't expecting it. That's almost kind of the point. But also, you just didn't realize in some ways how important he'd been in my life in many different regards. But and just as a final kind of note on there, whatever genre you're into, he's done a fun movie in that genre. If you like comedies, he did one called Top Secret, it's a spoof comedy, Airplane, Naked Gun style spoof comedy starring Val Kilmer. It's a spy movie. Called Top Secret, naturally a spy movie, spy spoof film. Of course, Top Gun for big blockbuster. If you want fantasy, he's got Willow, Western, you got Tombstone, superhero movie, you got Batman, also kind of have The Saint. You want a crime thriller, heist film, you got Heat. Biopic, you got The Doors. Like, you just go through the genres, and he was in one that has stood the test of time, that's been remembered favorably over time. It's just... yeah, it's sad. So I don't have too much more to say on that, but I guess if in it as a little final note and a way to honor him, what's your favorite Val Kilmer film?